This perp back with another video, and I just got done checking out episode 3 of Moon Knight that's on Disney Plus. Now, originally I wasn't going to do this video, but I said, fuck it. Because, usually anything Marvel, DC, comic book related, Star Wars doesn't really do well as far as, numbers go. But man, just this episode got me thinking a lot, and I had to make a video on it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be super curious. But this episode starts where the last one left off. Kind of. We'll get into that. Because the pacing is definitely very weird, and I'll have to say that's the one negative I have about this episode. But there's a lot of interesting other things that are going on. So we get to see Layla and a little bit more of her and who she is, and she is an actual person, because I saw theories out there that some people thought that like Layla's not a real person. It's probably all in Mark's head. That's obviously not true, but we see where Mark gets those fake passports and stuff. This is the person that Layla is talking to. That's where they pretty much get all that stuff. And I like that we get a little bit more backstory on Layla. I'm not too over the moon, no pun intended, with her character, but it's cool to get these little things of detail just to kind of flesh out these characters a little bit more. And we're already like halfway through, so it's interesting. But shifting things over to Mark, though, we see Mark finally in action, not as Moon Knight, just in action, having a little fight on the rooftop. And then all of a sudden, when he's talking to Steven, he starts to kind of shift, and he's kind of in shock what he finds when he comes back, as Mark. And he's thinking this is Steven's doing. Like, he just sees dead bodies, blood everywhere. And Steven's like, I didn't do this. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely tease a third persona in this episode. What that persona is interesting. My theory, I don't know if Disney will go that far, is maybe he's just some type of serial killer. And maybe that is key to a lot of things of why not Steven, but Mark did what he did and why he distanced himself from Layla. Because we still don't got a clear, definitive answer with that. And I'm okay with that, because it's obviously something that is very personal to him. So that's interesting. Another interesting thing about this episode, I was not expecting to see the other gods and their other avatars. We didn't see them all suit up or anything, but we saw all these different gods, because Khonshu, obviously, like, he got kicked out. I have a theory now that started to come to me. But before we get into the meeting of the gods, Harrow, Arthur over there, is just trying to find Ahmed's tomb. He finds like the location, but doesn't know exactly where the tomb is. So while he's doing this, Moon Knight and I shouldn't say Moon Knight, but Mark and Khonshu are pretty much trying to figure out what they could do. And this is where Khonshu pretty much says, like, look, we could talk to the gods, but you got to be very careful at how you talk to them, because if you talk to them wrong, they're going to turn me into stone. Which I thought it was pretty funny, because Mark was like, it doesn't sound like a too bad of an idea. So we get to this meeting with the gods, and I could see this being a controversial scene just with certain bits of dialogue. I don't take it as a huge thing, but when one of them says something about this is a safe space, I literally started to get, I got a little chuckle out of that. I thought that was pretty funny. Kudos to Disney for putting that in there, but it started to come like an intervention for Khonshu. Like, all the different gods were saying, like, there, you don't have a case to put up against with Arthur. And I like how they kind of just can summon people at will to meet them in this little um sanctuary where all the gods kind of meet and stuff. And they're pretty OP, and I kind of give them this. I'll give them this, right? At least they stick to their rules, unlike the Eternals. You know what I'm saying? If you get out of line or anything, they won't hesitate to just, stop you completely. So they can't find nothing on Arthur, or they really just don't try to dig too deep in it. But then we get one of the other gods or goddess pulls Mark to the side, be like, yo, I know where you could find such and such, what you're looking for, where not even the other gods know what you're looking for. So that leads to another thing. It almost kind of feels like national treasure in a way. Like they're always going on these little mini adventures. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely a lot of filler in between this with like Mark and Layla and how they're talking, and how Layla kind of says like, why didn't you tell me about all this? Like, you could have told me. And there was some cool little character moments with those two. It didn't really take me out. Like I said, the only thing that kind of is a little jarring compared to the first two is the pacing. Everything else is pretty interesting. So then we get to this scene where we meet one of Layla's old friends, I guess, because it's a clue to where they need to go next and where they can find this specific tomb, so they could find Ahmet's tomb before Arthur does. So this place was kind of weird, because at first you see these people just doing like playing around with javelins and stuff like that. I was like, are they bringing back the LARPing in this episode? It almost felt like that, but it's just rich people doing rich people stuff. Like, you just do a bunch of random things. We do see Arthur come into play, and he kind of manipulate the situation and shows off a little bit of the power that he has. I want to see more of it, though. I don't know if we're going to see him fully suit up in any type of fashion. That would be pretty interesting to see what he would look like. We do, though, get more Moon Knight action in this, and it's pretty dope. I could see some people having issues with not seeing that much of Moon Knight, but I like that they only use Moon Knight when he's really needed. And also we see Mr. Knight, Steven's, version of Moon Knight, come into play. He kind of takes over temporarily until he gets like impaled by these like spears, these javelin spears and stuff like that. And then he says like, yo, take over, Mark, take over. But things go kind of left, so they kind of have to improvise. They're able to get that little cloth or whatever they were looking for. It was kind of like a map. They're able to get that. But the problem is, there's something that happened at a specific night like 2,000 years ago. So what Khonshu does is kind of go back to that night, but at a risk, because this will be the final straw before the gods kind of turn him into stone. Which I feel like the gods have been working with Arthur this whole time, and it's probably the reason why they casted out Khonshu, and they probably want to actually serve Ahmet. I don't know, that's just my kind of prediction, or just another kind of reason why they want to get Khonshu out there, because we definitely get more of his motivations and stuff, and get a lot of cool stuff. Like some of the special effects, you obviously know it's CG, it doesn't look the best, it could look better, but like I like the whole Khonshu messing with the sky. And now, so with Khonshu out of play, what does that mean for Mark? Because he tells Steven, like, look, Mark is the one that can bring me back, so tell Mark to bring me back. I don't know if he's going to be able to tap into the Moon Knight powers. We'll have to wait and see. And I also like in this episode, we get to see Steven and Mark kind of work together using the Avatar and stuff like that. Like, when it's something that Mark's not strong at, like reading hieroglyphs and understanding Egyptian culture, that's where Steven steps in. And I really like how they did that. That was really cool. And seeing Layla's like reaction to this, and she's kind of like, whoa, this is pretty wild. But there's a third one, and I can't wait to see exactly what that is. And what Arthur said at the very end of this is very interesting, that this is something that he said something along the lines of, I'm going to do what you failed to do back then. A lot of interesting stuff to kind of like take away from this episode. There's definitely some glaring issues with the pacing. Some of the special effects are a little iffy, but I'm okay. Like, as long as we get a decent story out of this, I'm still kind of intrigued to see what happens for the last 3 episodes. But let me know how you guys feel about this episode as a whole. Is it the weakest one for you by far? Let me know. Until next time, I'm out.